Take a look at this clip. Hakeem Jeffries unknowingly does an amazing job of highlighting exactly what's wrong with the Democratic Party.
But what happened? Because for so many people, depending on your point of view, you were either in the fetal position that night or you were doing the hula. Because we kept hearing it's going to be so close, there's no way we're going to know, it may be a couple days, be patient. What happened?
Well, America's a resilient nation, and so we're going to get through this political moment and continue to be the greatest country, in my view, in the history of the world. But we have problems that we have to solve. We've got to make sure, of course, that we fix our broken immigration system and we secure the border. We have to make sure that we lower costs and grow the middle class. And we've got to work together. There are times to campaign and engage in the political process. That time has come to an end. And we've got to figure out how we can solve problems on behalf of everyday Americans.
His response is complete word salad, and it only gets worse when he's trying to explain how Kamala Harris did in terms of distancing herself and differentiating herself from Joe Biden.
Speaking of those two things, the economy and immigration, do you believe that Vice President Harris should have created more of a distinction between what she was going to do up against what the Biden administration is doing?
Well, we'll have an opportunity to engage in after-action analysis, and I expect that will happen not just over the next few days, but over the next few weeks and the next few months. It will be required. From our perspective as House Democrats, I think we're going to have a family conversation that needs to be clear-eyed, candid, and comprehensive to figure out what happened on election night, why did it happen, and how do we improve upon the performance in order to put us in the strongest possible position to deliver for the American people moving forward.
People get frustrated with politics this way. This is what clears the way for Donald Trump, who speaks what's on his mind, even though what's on his mind is racism, xenophobia, sexism, violence. Right? I mean, you have, this is your major problem with the Democratic Party. They're very out of touch, right? They're in the DC bubble for the most part. There are progressives that are actually in touch with, needs of American people, needs of the working class. It would be nice if, AIPAC didn't ruin their primary campaigns.
I want to start with the scathing response that you gave after the Democrats lost, Kamala Harris lost pretty big. You said the Democrats abandoned the working class. The chairman of the DNC called it straight up BS and said Joe Biden is the most pro-worker president of my lifetime. Former Speaker Nancy Pelosi said she disagreed with you. She added, quote, Bernie Sanders has not won. Do you stand by what you said?
Oh, absolutely. Look, Joe Biden is a friend of mine. I've been proud to work with him on an agenda which has been very strongly in favor of the working class. Biden promised to be the most progressive president since FDR. In many ways, on domestic issues, I think he kept his word. But here is the reality. The working class of this country is angry, and they have a reason to be angry. We are living in an economy today, Donna, where the people on top are doing phenomenally well, while 60% of our people are living paycheck to paycheck. 25% of elderly people are trying to get by on $15,000 a year or less. We have the highest rate of childhood poverty of almost any major country on earth, and parents all over this country worry that their kids may have a lower standard of living than they do. That is the economic reality. And what Donald Trump did is provided an explanation. He went around, he said, I know you're angry, and the reason is that zillions of illegal immigrants are coming over, and they're eating your cats and dogs and everything else. That's the reason. Well, obviously, that is not the reason. The reason is, in my view, that we have an unprecedented level of corporate greed today, more income and wealth inequality, and people on top want it all. And we need an agenda that says to the working class, we're going to take on these powerful special interests and create an economy and a government that works for you. And by the way, That can't happen unless you get big money out of politics. We got to get rid of the Citizens United Supreme Court decision so billionaires do not continue to buy elections.
And it is very frustrating because Biden has been incredibly progressive on so many issues. What he has done for consumer protection, $150 billion to student loan debt forgiveness. The American Rescue Plan bailed out millions of union workers. We see, $500 billion to fighting climate change. And then there's the rest of his stuff to drilling, but $500 billion to fighting climate change. This is like record investments. But this has been, there needs to be more. There's good things, but, the middle class is getting squeezed by corporate America. There's still, all this suffering going on. And not only are these like incremental steps, these are also poorly marketed steps, right? This is, policy, over the course of, 10 years will, spur growth in these economic sectors and so on and so forth. And it's a 1,000-page policy that only someone, that's a Beltway expert, is going to go, oh, yes, of course. And, you can't, that's not as tangible and, accessible to, your normal working class person. And, that is the issue. And we live in a right-wing country. Joe Biden has been, progressive in comparison. And the right calls him a communist and stuff because, he's basically to the center, right center.
I don't have marching orders for you right now. My marching orders would basically be to find your safe network of people, to find your pod, to find your community. We have to do a lot of community building. And by that, I don't just mean organizing politically. I mean active community building. We are in a position where the isolation of a capitalist system, the isolation produced by COVID, just where we are as a society, people working 4 jobs, 3-4 jobs to make ends meet. We do not have community. And believe it or not, community, whether it's your church or mosque or temple, whether it's a knitting group, whether it's, your dinner circle, building that community is actually far more transformative and far more important than you may realize. And people may dismiss it and people may think that it's silly or frivolous. It is not. I guarantee you it is not.
I had the privilege of canvassing, organizing, and working alongside people in the last several months, that on the campaign trail. And there are people within the Democratic Party that, people that are consultants adjacent and that are with it. They understand the need for universal health care, things like UBI. They understand that there's a genocide going on in Gaza. But that is not the people at the top. The people at the top should not be working again. If they want to go work as lobbyists somewhere, or they should not be making decisions. They definitely should not be on CNN and MSNBC telling people how to win elections. No. It should be an immediate disqualifier if you are going on and, MSNBC and CNN and making public statements about how, we were too left wing and that's why we lost the election. Like, maybe don't protect trans kids that much and, maybe support Israel a little bit more. That's my big concern. Did Biden support Israel at all? Like, that is unhinged to think that. If you think that, you are incredibly out of touch with reality. I don't know. Listen, I don't think AIPAC could pay me enough to say that without bursting out laughing. right? I don't know if I could say that, like get to the full sentence without just being like, "Gah," and then like just having a spit take. So I think we can organize and gather our collective wrath towards the people telling us we're not right wing enough, and that's why we lose elections, right? My biggest issue is, yes, it is. There's so much more to be done for the working class. There's so much more to be sold to the working class. Yes, populism. We all have different ideas of populism. Right-wing populists in, swing states think that it benefits them to give tax breaks to corporations and billionaires because that's going to trickle down and they'll hire more people. They're not aware that money goes towards tax breaks. Not the money to tax breaks. It goes towards stock buybacks. They think that fracking and oil drilling is presenting permanent employment and not seasonal employment. Huge. I mean, do I need to explain the difference? So right now we are outgunned in terms of our platforms, as progressives. The right wing has done a phenomenal job of branding themselves as populists. It is just, wholesale false, but they've convinced a good amount of people that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are on the side of the working class, the working man. I mean, that is a messaging failure. The Democrats have been, they have cost us election after election in their lack of response to messaging. They do not counter message. They are isolated in the sense that, they don't hear these messages going forth, and they think that the truth naturally is going to win out, right? Like the truth it's a natural, democracy, that's a natural occurrence. The truth winning out, natural occurrence. No, it's not. As we witnessed, people think that Joe Biden caused inflation by shutting down the Keystone Pipeline. Most MAGA voters do not understand that he drilled 12 million barrels a day, triple what Trump was drilling. And Trump was drilling, 4 million barrels a day? Biden, 12 million. They don't understand that. They think that, Biden's like, no, environment, we're not drilling enough. And all of these things conspire to that degree. And yeah, I personally would like either the Democratic Party to be something else. We would all like, I think, someone to run as an outsider. I will vote for, if I have to, Gavin Newsom, but I'd rather not. And that's me voting, assuming we get to have elections again. So, assuming we get to have elections again, let's take a moment for that. I would like to see an outsider be the candidate that takes on Trump, because Trump has the mythological status of the outsider, not involved in Beltway, and it's true, and it is. He is part of the billionaire class, so he is the swamp, and so, but he enjoys a mythological outsider status, and that is running another Democrat is not going to win any future elections. I personally I would like to see people that are progressive run as independents, right? Bernie is an independent. He enjoys that status. There's the thing where AOC polled her own voters that voted for her and Trump, and they did so because they saw both her and Trump as outsiders, right? So there is that. And that the entire nation is very hungry for change, and they're hungry for something that is different and outside of the establishment. There are people that are progressives that are sort of looking on with some sort of hope that, this destruction of our democratic foundations sort of lays the groundwork for, change down the line. I'm not optimistic that it's that simple of a path forward. Call me cynical, but there is a bipartisan need for change in this country. If Democrats want to play the same game, we're all going to suffer. I mean, there are these Democratic consultants in a room somewhere, and they're preparing some establishment person like Gavin Newsom to run again in 4 years. And we need to put a stop to that. Yeah. I mean, as we all know, something needs to change. And if they don't want to change, I mean, it's costing us at this point because we are stuck with this stupid two-party system.